Roll call. Laura's missing. Who else? Everybody else is.
That's it.
Okay.
22 supervisors present, Supervisor Belsky excused. Or 21 supervisors present, Supervisor Belsky excused.
Thank you. At this time, I'm appointing Dennis Pierce as 5th District Supervisor. Pursuant to our ordinance, he shall serve until his successor is elected at the upcoming nonpartisan spring election. Do I have a motion to confirm the appointment? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Roll call? Okay, I think what we're going to do, we're going to have a roll call. We're having a roll call.
Point of order. Is that up for discussion?
No, sir.
No discussion?
No. Up or down, vote. We're having a roll call vote. Is it set up? All those in favor, say aye. There's no discussion. I'm having a roll call vote. All those in favor, aye. No, there,
Your ruling, that's in order, it
This-
needs to be voted on.
no, sir.
I've heard this before.
No, sir.
Yes,
No.
yes.
You can appeal it. Okay. We have to vote on it?
Is that the same thing he's told you 3 or 4 times now?
I apologize. I was advising the chairman that, yes, the motion to appeal the ruling of the chair is in order, and then a vote would need to be taken on it.
All right, we'll take everything's going to be roll call tonight. Okay? So we'll have a roll call vote on that motion. Read the motion again.
Which would eliminate debate on the item.
Thank you.
To appointments that we've had.
I didn't hear you, sir. We're ready for a vote. All those in favor?
No, we're trying to clarify, Mr. Chairman, what's being voted on. My colleague right in front of me has indicated to me he doesn't know what he's voting on.
He's, vo-
If you or
he-
corporation counsel want to let me.
he's voting on, we're voting on my decision of not having any discussion.
So, okay, so please clarify for us, what does a yes vote mean?
He just did.
No, that was not said. Oh, my lord.
You're on.
The motion on the floor is to appeal the decision of the chair not to proceed with debate on the appointment. A vote yes or aye would be to reverse the decision of the chair and therefore proceed to discussion. A vote no would be to uphold the decision of the chair.
You're missing. Let's see the board.
So the motion has passed, so the decision to overrule the chair has passed, to reverse the decision.
Any discussion? Supervisor Against.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say that I served with Dennis Pierce as an alderman in the 90s, and as far as character goes and what I think he would bring to the board, it's all positive. So I think he does his homework, comes prepared, and I think he would be an asset to the board. So I just wanted to give a character reference on my working with him in the past. Thank you.
Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start off by speaking to Mr. Pierce briefly. Mr. Pierce, I don't know you, I haven't met you, but I've heard nothing but positive things about you. However, I will not be supporting your appointment tonight. Roughly 2 years ago, give or take, we had another appointment to fill a vacancy after one of our colleagues passed away. Similar circumstance there. Then Chairman Esposito made his decision, did not announce it until right before the meeting, left no input for the public to come. Residents of that district, unless they were here, didn't know who was getting appointed, and therefore they had no voice in who was going to be representing them until the next election. I proposed an ordinance that didn't even get a motion. That ordinance would have required you, Mr. Chairman, to announce that appointment tonight, and at the following county board meeting, the vote to take place. The reason behind that was to, again, allow for the people who live in that district to make comment. Do they like this individual? Do they not like? Do they think somebody else should be appointed? And so that they could reach out to the rest of us who were voting on that instead of them. Again, that didn't receive a motion. Then our colleague Supervisor Maurer was appointed to the board, and Chairman Esposito had a change in heart and said he announced well ahead of time who he was picking, allowing for the public to have their input. This time, Mr. Chairman, you have decided to announce your pick quietly on a Friday and subsequently have our PR team send out an email that you put in here as, at the very end of your release, you said you were picking him so that he could hit the ground running on the county board. And then you go on to speak about the upcoming election, of which Mr. Pierce is a candidate. We should not be picking a candidate who's running for this office. If then Supervisor Celebrity had resigned a matter of days after in which he did, this vacancy would stay vacant until the election. Was that done? Did he resign, a couple days early, knowing that this county board would get to appoint a successor, knowing that they would appoint the successor to that seat who's also running for that office, giving him the added bonus of the power of incumbency? And now yet again tonight, already tonight, we have seen you, Mr. Chairman, try to silence this board from having their say on who's filling this vacancy. So I'll be voting no, and I think everybody should be voting no. You had two applicants that were not running for this office. You could have picked one of them, but you didn't. You tried to play politics with this appointment, and that's shameful. That's all.
Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. I've known Mr. Pierce for many years. I can't say that I know him well, but I have no negative feelings about him. But I am concerned that this board is endorsing, by virtue of this appointment and its timing, endorsing a candidate for county board supervisor who has an opponent. I would think that a proposition brought before this board wherein we endorse each other for re-election would be unwise and certainly roundly criticized, as it should be, and defeated. Mr. Celebrity resigned his position effective December 22nd of 2021. So that office has been vacant since that date, and there seems to be no rush to appoint someone to succeed him because his representation of that district was needed. Now, if Mr. Pierce had no opposition in this election, I would endorse it. I would speak in favor of it, but that is not the case. I don't know anything about his opponent. I don't think I've ever met his opponent, but I am not a member of the district in which either of them reside. I represent and live elsewhere. I think the people of that district can well decide for themselves who it is that ought to represent them. There have been other examples of people leaving office by death in the past. Many times their surviving spouse had been appointed, or someone else who was not seeking that public office, and we left it up to the voters to decide of that district who would represent them. So I don't speak here from any bias against Mr. Pierce whatsoever, but I think that by endorsing a candidacy less than 2 months away from that election just isn't fair play. The office has been vacant since December 22nd without a problem. The voters of that district can decide on April 5th who is properly representing them. And the position that the chairman wants to fill can be filled by someone competent, experienced, and there are other candidates to consider. I think it's the fair thing to do, and likewise, I ask you to defeat the appointment here this evening. I don't think that should be taken as anything personal with Mr. Pierce, but rather personal with the voters of that district. You decide, not us.
Supervisor Grady?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have little knowledge, if any, of Dennis Pierce and his candidacy, but I do look at the perspective that it is not good to have an open seat. It's better to have a person in the seat who is qualified, because what happens is you have less representation of the people here in Kenosha County. The more the power is concentrated, the less diversity, the less input we have. So whether you support Mr. Pierce or not, the idea of having an interim person in for just a short period of time until the election occurs, I see nothing wrong with that. So if it's Dennis Pierce and he's on the agenda to be elected, I would support him. I would support any other candidate that had the backing of the chairman and the whole process. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Supervisor Nudo?
Thank you. I know many comments, well, a few comments were made why we should not vote for this. My comment, first of all, I want to say I have known Dennis Pierce for over 50 years. In fact, he was one of the first few people that I met when I came from Italy. He went to school with my wife. We hung around together when we were young guys. I have the most respect for him. However, again, for the reasons stated by either Supervisor Rose, Supervisor Rodriguez, I don't believe it's right and fair to appoint him at this position right now. I understand that the people in the district need representation. However, that was the case. Former Supervisor Celebrity, he resigned on December 22nd. We had plenty of time to appoint someone right away if that's what we really wanted to do it. In fact, we had a board meeting, supposedly we're supposed to have a board meeting at the beginning of February. That was canceled because we did not have anything important to put it on the agenda. Why didn't we do this here on the first week of February? The other thing that I want to say is that with all due respect to Dennis Pierce, which again can be very qualified and everything, we say that we need somebody qualified to just get in and run and do the duties of county board supervisor. After getting, I had to request a public records request in order to have the names of the other people that applied for this job. There was another person in there that he used to be a county board supervisor, which I believe is just as well as qualified. It's not running, and that could have been done in that way. Now, I couldn't even get the names of the people that applied or whoever was appointed as late as a Friday night when I asked. And then on Monday, we have a press release with all the information. If this is not a game playing, I don't know what it is. So I urge everybody to vote no. Thank you.
Corporation Counsel, would you refresh the voice of the people in the audience here about our ordinance after Celebrity resigned.
I believe what the chairman is referring to is our ordinance clearly indicates that if the vacancy occurs prior to the deadline for filing papers if it occurs during an odd-numbered year or in those first few days of an even-numbered election year before the deadline for filing papers passes, then I don't believe there is any discretion. The ordinance indicates that the chair shall appoint someone to fill that vacancy. If the vacancy occurs after the deadline for filing papers, there is then the discretion on the part of the chair to leave the seat open at his or her discretion. That was a change made in 2016 when a vacancy occurred in mid to late February. The then chairman opted not to fill it, in part because it was so close to the election, and there was some significant pushback from the district's city council representative or concurrent city council member exactly on the point that was made regarding representation. Further, I'll simply indicate that I believe all steps in the process spelled out in that ordinance were followed as written and certainly as per the timeframes that are included in that ordinance.
Who's it? Supervisor Grady?
So the previous conversation we've had with Supervisor Rose making a motion for discussion on this matter, I understand that. Everyone can have their say what they think is right or wrong. But is it my understanding, Corporation Counsel, that our individual or collective opinions as a county board has little merit or little weight in the decision of the county board chairman? Would you please advise us on that?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, Supervisor Grady, this is not a situation where, say, the collective will of the board could change the appointment decision. It is an up or down. The chair is authorized to make the appointment. The board has to confirm that with an up or down vote. I don't believe, for example, that it would be appropriate to move to amend the motion on the floor to substitute a different name. It is left to the discretion and judgment of the chair, and then the role of the board is to affirm or presumably not that appointment.
That clarifies it. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Thank you. I'm sorry, Supervisor Frederick. I have every right to speak just like you do. I'm sorry that upsets you, but I don't care.
What?
My point of information is this.
Talking to the board, or you're talking to Ron Frederick?
I'm addressing a supervisor who's speaking out of turn. The county will be much better without you here. I'm just going to say that. Through the chair, to Corporation Counsel, if this were to get voted down, could the chairman then choose another name? Or does the ordinance say that there's only so many attempts here?
I'll be honest, that situation has not come up while I've been here, so I would have to determine what the next steps would be.
All right, quiet.
You just said that he shall. That's what our ordinance says. So it'll go on until the election. He can keep doing names because he is obligated by our ordinance to fill that vacancy. Thank you.
I guess what I'm saying, I don't have an answer. I think there is an obligation to appoint. I don't know whether that obligation would then extend to reopening, if you will, the process. That's a question I've not considered and I'm not comfortable giving you an answer as we sit here tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm going to concur with his opinion, and I just want to highlight that if we vote this down tonight, it's not that this is going to stay vacant. This could give you, Mr. Chairman, an opportunity to pick somebody who's not running for the office.
Any other discussion? Supervisor Berg.
It was proposed 2, 3, 4 years ago, a proposal to change the chair in the process, as was stated earlier. It wasn't even motioned by anybody on the committee. So it could have been brought up many, many, many times since the multiple appointments that we've had. It's only been brought up once, and it did not get a motion. For those of you that think that this is an unethical situation, I don't remember, there was about 3 additional supervisors that were downstairs at 6:30 for our ethics code discussion during legislative committee. This wasn't brought up at all. It wasn't brought up to me to be put on the agenda for legislative committee. This is more of a knee-jerk reaction. There's a process. The process has been approved, and it has not been amended at all by anybody on the board. It's been proposed, but it wasn't moved forward. Just because you don't like the choice of the chairman's decision, well, move on. That happens. We're not going to agree on everything. But if you want to make a change, then bring it forward in a process, in a motion, but not at the last minute here. We're about to up or down an appointment by the chair, and we're playing games here. So let's just fill this thing already, for the love of God.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we're going to a vote. Yes, you're voting for Mr. Pierce. No, you're voting for starting over.
Motion passes 13 to 8, 2 abstained.
Want me to announce it?
I just did. Oh. Oh, you know what? No one abstained. With the 2 vacancies, it comes up as an abstain, so excuse me. Thank you.
2 vacancies or 1?
What? Sorry, it's absent.
1 absent.
There's 1 absent, and that District 5 shows up as absent, and I'm sorry, it's been a really long couple days. All right, so the motion passes 13 to 18.
13 to 8.
Sorry, see, I told you it's been a really long day. I'm sorry. One of these days, it won't be a long day.
Sitting an oath of office for Supervisor, District 5.
All right.
Clerk?
So can Mr. Pierce please come forward? Have you, I'll read, you'll repeat after me, and then when you're done, I'll have you sign. You raise your right hand, please. I, Dennis Pierce. Go ahead.
I, Dennis Pierce,
Having been duly appointed on February 16th, 2022,
having been duly appointed on February 16th, 2022,
to the office of County Board Supervisor, District 5,
to the office of County Board Supervisors, District Number 5,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
of the said office to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are my supervisor.
Okay.
Thank you. Sign it. You take your seat then.
Okay, I'm going to have you sign this one, too. This one's for you to keep. This is, if you can talk to me later this week about what's in there. Sure. All right, thank you.
Have a seat over there. At this time, we'll have citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to speak, step up to the podium. You have 5 minutes. Please put your name and address on that form. And is this
Michael Bell, 3317 13th Place, Kenosha. I'm here because I do have some county business I want to discuss. Not too long ago, I provided some evidence to the medical examiner, Patrice Hall, and she was denied an investigation into a police shooting. And not too long ago, I asked Joint Services to see some evidence regarding a police shooting, and I was denied that also. It had to do with more or less a police execution, and I use the word execution. It doesn't sound properly, but essentially a gun was placed directly to a 21-year-old man's head, and he was killed in front of his mother and sister. And so our family was forced to conduct our own investigation because I couldn't get the county to do it. Back in November, I took out 2 full-page ads in the New York Times. And if you can imagine what it takes to call out a history of corruption in Kenosha in the New York Times, it took all senior leadership at the New York Times, and it took their legal 7 full days before they would give me permission to go ahead and run it. And one of the things that I ran in here is a photo of a bullet impact location that is in direct contradiction to all versions of the account from the police department that night. That bullet impact location is important because we had to find it on our own. I had to send it off for testing to the most renowned ballistics expert in the nation. His name is Michael Haig. And Michael Haig actually wrote this book, college book on ballistics reconstruction. That bullet impact location tested positive for lead, and just recently, all the crime scene photos from that night showed that that bullet impact location has been there since 2004. Mr. Haig asked me to get that bullet to be examined, and I approached the city, I approached the county, and I was denied that right to have a piece of evidence examined by Kenosha Mayor John Antaramian. I had to take it in front of, I had to take it from into court, and I was denied access to that. And I wanted to say that I have a complaint that Joint Services allows people to walk in and look at evidence all the time, but when I got a legitimate beef where we want to take a look at a piece of evidence by a skilled expert and I'm denied, you have to question why. I'm going to tell you why. Because nobody would believe when Bill Cosby, America's dad, was accused of drugging and sexually assaulting 60 women. Nobody would believe that. And nobody would believe that Bernie Madoff, the president of NASDAQ, was running a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme. And I'm going to tell you right now that nobody believes that Mayor John Antaramian and John Morrissey are controlling a bullet that will implicate them in a murder. They are deliberately stalling the discovery of evidence to avoid prosecution in a police murder. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens?
Some would tell me to be quiet, but first let me start with a brief disclaimer. I'm Brian Bashaw. I live in Brighton, candidate for supervisor representing District 19. When I began to consider running for supervisor, I felt it was critical to attend some county board meetings and committee meetings to gain some insights and to understand more clearly the oversight of our county and the administrative actions that our county leaders take. What I've seen, and tonight it's continued, has alarmed me, as I think it should you. You should be alarmed by what's happening in our county. I previously addressed this board in January. I'm going to speak as a citizen tonight. I addressed this board in January regarding ethics and the need for this board to act in a matter that is not driven by partisan politics. While it appears that those words fell on deaf ears, or simply on ears that were closed due to the bipartisan nature of it and a need for power. I watched as outside counsel, tasked with investigating the gift provided to several supervisors to, quote, tour and to, quote, attend Country Thunder in 2021. I fully support Country Thunder and believe we are fortunate to have this tremendous event in Kenosha County. I wish they'd be a little louder. I could hear them from my porch each year. Hopefully, we'll see more similar events drawn to the county. You know, this is an exceptional place to live, to work, to enjoy the inside and the outside spaces that we have. I do not, however, support unethical behavior. The ethics standards, I did go to the meeting tonight. I thought there'd be a lot more discussion around ethics. I was surprised it was very truncated. The ethics standards speak clearly, but at no point do they make any characterization of a gift, financial gain, or other considerations having a timeline associated with them, or with any business that is coming before the board. I don't see a subjective standard to be tested against one's feelings or one's thoughts. The standards are pretty direct. It says, public officials are prohibited from using their offices to obtain financial gain or anything of substantial value for the private benefit of themselves, their immediate family, or organizations with which they are associated. Anything of value means any money, property, favor, service, payment, advance, forbearance, loan, or promise of future employment. It goes on. It says, no public official may receive anything of value if it could reasonably be expected to influence. And I appreciated your words tonight. It can be hard to take from the citizens to say, well, that seems unethical. Well, that's the standard. It seems unethical. If your wife finds you're having dinner out with women, it seems there's something there, right? It seems unethical. The Kenosha County Ethics Standard is a little bit more direct. It says no person or organization may offer or give to a county public official or employee directly or indirectly, and no county public official or employee may solicit or accept from any person or organization directly or indirectly anything of value as herein defined. If I give you $1,000, do you think you might be influenced? No strings attached, wink, wink. Don't worry about it, just enjoy the money. The statute's pretty clear to me, and I imagine to the average citizen it is as well. Is this obfuscation of a clear conflict, evidence of an effort to simply protect a partisan seat, or is it evidence of something more insidious? Ethics and values are critical to the responsible execution and leadership by Kenosha County Board Supervisors. Now, today I read in the Kenosha News, actually yesterday, and I see on the agenda, and it just went and happened, that the chairman has identified his man to fill the seat vacated due to ethical violations of Supervisor Celebre. Has anyone ever heard the phrase, putting your thumb on the scale? It seems that is a common tactic by leaders in our state. We have a governor who wants to use the power of the purse to give $125 to everyone in the state, placing his thumb on the scales of the election by being a generous benefactor, and here tonight the chairman is standing on the scales amid this election cycle. Ethical behavior or partisan politics? I urge this board to consider carefully its actions and obligations to this community, to act with the interests of the citizens of Kenosha County held foremost in all decisions. We're not Canada. They seem to have a dictator. We're not Washington, D.C., where we seem to have a lot of folks that believe dictating is the way things should be done now. We live in Kenosha. This is our home. This is our Kenosha, and it's our future. Please respect that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. I have a couple of announcements. On my right is Kayla Mitchell. She serves on the Human Services Committee as a student. The other thing I have to tell you is my $200 donation in the name of Supervisor Decker is going to St. Alphonsus Catholic Church Roof Fund. Any supervisor reports? Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works Committee had its monthly meeting. Quite a few items to go over, but looking at this evening's agenda, I think it may be wise to keep it brief. There are two larger items that will come before us this evening, and that is the ordinance for Kenosha County Municipal Code, Chapter 22, Broadband Forward. You'll get a briefing on that momentarily. And then the Human Services Campus Lease Purchase Agreement, which is moving the job center from where it is currently downtown. So that has gone through a couple committees. It'll be for your review this evening. But let's just be brief and start off with the projects that are occurring in Public Works. The detention center has a couple of HVAC features to it. One is just finishing up, which is phase 1. That'll be done at the end of March. Phase 2 is not bid yet, and that will be happening this construction season. We're looking at doing some remodeling at the Kenosha County Center. Keeney is the architect for that, and we'll have further updates as things go along. A variety of things happening right downtown in this building. We're looking at the final phase 4 replacement of the heat pumps for this building. That is going to be ongoing this construction season. And at Brookside, not the entire roof, but some of the shingled areas have been there for a very long time. There's been issues with snow and ice buildup. So that is going to be remedied and fixed up this construction season as well. As far as golf goes, it's the status quo as far as the golf rates go. We're seeing no movement up, no movement down. We're keeping the golf rates the same. And it looks to be a well-attended season. I believe all the tee times for golf leagues at Pets are fully booked at this point. We are reviewing in our committee Municipal Code Chapter 10, which is county parks ordinances, and that's an ongoing thing. It'll come up again our next session, so if you have an interest, you can attend. Just briefly, at Petrifying Springs, there is going to be some movement of playground equipment from Playground Area 4, which is very close to the watershed area. It's been flooding, so it's going to be moved up to the top of the hill, and that'll be a benefit. In terms of what else we can look at here, a whole variety of things to report through Highways Division, but I want to keep it brief, as I said. Coming before you next month, we expect, will be what's called the County Trunk Highway Access Management Guidelines Report. And what that is, it's an attempt to make our roads flow freely in terms of traffic and to not have an overabundance of access and egress points on a road, which basically are recipes for accidents and so forth. So we're taking a proactive approach, and we'll have something for you. We can take a look at it, and hopefully when these newer projects come along, like Highway 142, County Highway S, where it's all done, it's very beautiful, you've got 2 lanes in each direction, that the amount of access specifically, as an example to that, would be done in a planned manner rather than a haphazard manner. So again, we'll get into that more as we go along. And if there's anything else, we have a new Brightondale superintendent position for golf. His name is Jim Wallace. He has a very good background. We're looking forward to having that start up in the spring. And I think that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Gens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In listening to the last county board meeting, which I apologize I was sick for, there was some confusion on how things were put on the finance committee agenda. Supervisor Rose made a comment that he had sent me an email on the 4th of January requesting something to go on the next agenda. That was not the case. It actually came out on the 7th after the deadline to have things to be put on the committee agendas for the following week. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the position is, I will put anybody's resolution, whether I believe in the resolution or not, on the finance committee agenda. If it has to go through a oversight committee like Judiciary and Law and such, it will have to pass that committee before it comes on to the finance agenda. But just rest assured that no matter who it comes from, it will be put on my agenda. So I just wanted to clarify that, make sure nobody's confused based on the last meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Gantz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick update from Planning and Development and Extension Education Committee. Yesterday, in addition to being the primary here in Kenosha County, yesterday was also the annual MJAC meeting. That's the Multi-Jurisdictional Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. Most of the communities within Kenosha County were represented yesterday afternoon, and all communities have confirmed that they're working on their individual plans, and they've also confirmed a timeline for completion. Again, this will be coming through PDEC and then ultimately before the board in upcoming meetings, but just wanted the board to be aware that yesterday was the annual meeting looking at the draft annual report. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gantz. Any other reports? With the appointments.
County Executive Appointments, 57, Kenny Harper to serve on the Kenosha County Board of Health.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
58, Dominic Pritchett to serve on the Kenosha County Board of Health.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
59, Terrence Warthen to serve on Human Services Board.
Refer to Human Services Committee.
Old Business Resolution, one reading, 91 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution for the approval of the 2022 expenditures of American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds for long-term seasonal bonuses, passed unanimously by the Finance and Administration Committee.
Supervisor Gantz.
At the last county board meeting, some things were sent.
Move the resolution first.
Okay, I'll move the resolution.
Okay, moved and seconded by Supervisor Uhas. Supervisor Gantz.
At the last meeting, it was brought up to send this item back along with some other stuff to take a look at, which we did as a finance committee. Everything was examined that was asked of us to do. We felt that the long-term seasonals should get a small bonus. My thought process was the fact that they were coming back for the next term, and it came out that only one long-term seasonal was not coming back. So that sealed my vote. But when we did start this, it was also part to be a retention bonus as well. So we hashed it out, talked about it, and thought that this was the right thing to do. So we passed it unanimously, and I ask for your support this evening. Thank you.
Supervisor Rose.
I would like to make this amendment to the resolution that we add to the action clauses that, first, that be it resolved that the Kenosha County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the paying of bonuses to Kenosha County employees who retired in good standing from the county employment during 2021 upon the same terms and conditions that were previously approved by the board, and that further that be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby approves the budget modification necessary to carry out the intent of that amendment.
You have a second on the amendment? Seeing no second, Supervisor Rodriguez?
Thank you. Through the chair to Supervisor Gens, what is the amount that these seasonal workers will be getting?
$750 minus taxes and whatever else happens to it.
I just want to add this. I remember roughly a year ago, this board debated who should get bonuses from COVID relief money. I was one of many who wanted to make sure that our frontline workers were rewarded for the work they did during the pandemic. One group of people that many of us felt deserved bonuses, especially so, were our sheriff's deputies for their heroism during the riots. We have a sheriff's department members that worked countless hours during that time and did not receive an extra penny. We were told that's because we couldn't use COVID funds for that purpose. And yet, they still got a bonus, but so did everybody else. So if you want to call it a walk around, you can. If you don't, that's fine too. But there, in my opinion, was a walk around to that. All because those employees were salaried. These employees were not given what I believe to be extra bonuses, or what I would consider hazard pay, excuse me if I read that part already, that they earned. I find it appalling that our sheriff came here and spoke during citizens' comments and asked for bonuses for his family, yet didn't even think to request hazard pay for the men and women of his department. For, again, going out there and putting their well-being on the line during the riots. Yet here we are again, voting on giving bonuses to seasonal workers, and not the deputies that put their lives on the line for the citizens of Kenosha County. It's shameful, and I'll be voting no.
Supervisor Noodle?
Thank you. I'm not going to go into too many details. The only thing I want to say is I was against the bonuses the first time, and stated my reason at that time, and pretty much for the same reasons, I'm going to vote against this one. Thank you.
Supervisor Gully?
So can someone clarify, how many seasons does someone have to work to be considered long-term? Or if that's Supervisor Gens?
Seasons, it's more how many months during the year, if I'm not correct. Short-term seasonals work a couple of months out of the year, and long-term seasonals work, I believe, on average 8 months. I mean, HR's here, they could correct me. She's nodding her head yes, so that would be the distinction between the two.
Okay, so like the other ones, is there any opportunity that someone would question that definition, or has that been made clear? Like to the people that receive it, will they, like it's being made clear to the staff what that definition is so that we don't have people that question it?
Through the chair, could Clara step to the mic and define long-term seasonals, please?
Good evening. Yes, those employees know who they are. Long-term employees know that they're long-term seasonals, short-term know that they're short-term seasonals.
Thank you. And with this, are there any employee classifications that we have not covered? As we've gone through and made the additions to who gets the bonuses, are there any like tranches left?
Of active employees, no.
Okay, thank you.
Is it? Supervisor Gully, you done? Okay, thank you. Supervisor Gens, anything else?
No.
Any other discussion? It requires 2/3.
Resolution 91 passes 18 to 4. Or 18 yes, 4 no. New business ordinance, first reading to required, ordinance 18 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding an amendment to the text of Chapter 12, Kenosha County General Zoning and Shoreline Floodplain Zoning Ordinance. The proposed text will modify the language of the principal use section for mineral extraction. Ordinance 19 from the Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, an ordinance to create Chapter 22 of the Municipal Code of Kenosha County entitled Broadband Forward Community Ordinance. Ordinance, one reading, 20, from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Brighton Endeavors LLC owner Ed Possing, agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland protection, INRA, and non-farmed wetland to farmland protection, general agricultural, and open land, INRA, and non-farmed wetland, from the town of Wheatland. It passed unanimously by the,
Is it Brighton?
I'm sorry, Brighton, town of Brighton. Passed unanimously by the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 20.
Moved by Supervisor Gaske, second by Supervisor Maurer. On the ordinance, Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have 3 items on our agenda tonight, all related to the same property and working toward the same goal. So ordinance 20, ordinance 21, and then later on in the meeting, resolution 104. Again, these are all related, allowing the property owner to be able to section off a portion of the land, which is with a natural waterway boundary, in order to build a single-family residence on their property. Again, the town of Brighton supports this, our committee supports it, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any nay? Motion carried. Thank you.
Ordinance 21 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Brighton Endeavors LLC owner Ed Possing, agent, requests a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District to A1 Agricultural Preservation District, A2 General Agricultural District, C2 Upland Resource Conservancy District, and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District in the town of Brighton. It passed unanimously by the Planning, Development, Extension Education Committee.
Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 21.
It's been moved by Supervisor Gaske, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, the same property that we just discussed, whereas ordinance 20 was a comprehensive plan amendment. This ordinance 21, which is before us now, is a rezoning, which would allow a single-family residence on this property. The town of Brighton, our committee, supports this, and we ask for yours as well. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried.
Ordinance 22 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, an ordinance regarding Christopher E. and Shannon E. Johnson, owner, PDEC sponsor, requests a rezoning from A2 General Agricultural District to A2 General Agricultural District and C1 Lowland Resource Conservancy District in town of Randall. This passed unanimously by the Planning, Development, Extension Education Committee.
Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ordinance 22.
Moved by Supervisor Gaske, second by Supervisor Noodle. Supervisor Gaske on the motion.
Thank you. So this property, this ordinance that's before us now would allow a rezoning to revise a portion of this property simply to reflect the current field conditions. Over time, the wetlands move, and we need to update the rezoning in order to reflect the current reality. That's simply what's going on here tonight. Our committee supports this, and we ask for your support as well. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried.
Resolution, one reading, 94 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Supervisor Boyd Frederick to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Supervisors Belsky, Berg, Beth, Lewis, and Rose voting aye, Decker nay, Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg. On the motion.
I move motion, resolution 94.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Berg.
Supervisor Boyd Frederick, it was There's a few reasons as just sitting on this ADRC. That being, the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. That being aged, disability, and caretaker. Supervisor Boyd Frederick fills one or more of those, no joke intended. And he will be succeeding himself. He attended 14 of 20 meetings. 6 absences were excused.
Supervisor Decker, you had your light on?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board will see, I voted against a number of these appointments. It had nothing to do with the qualifications of any of the gentlemen and ladies that are being appointed. My issue is approximately a year ago, the committee, the Human Service Committee, requested that the county executive appoint more diverse members to our boards. And we come back and get the same reappointments and lack of diversity, the exact opposite of what we requested. That was the main reason. There is one here, let's see, Ordinance 99, I believe, that I voted for because the Director of Health, Jennifer Freiheit, explained that they did purposely look for a diverse position, look for diversity in that position, so I did approve or vote for that. The second reason that I voted against these, and the less important of the two, is because we will be having a new county executive soon, and I don't think we should be filling all these positions that do not need to be filled at this time, because these positions go on until someone else is reappointed. So I do not believe we should be appointing all these positions for 2-3-year terms when we have a new county executive coming in April that should be able to appoint who, now at this time, she would want to appoint. So that is why I voted against these people. It has nothing to do with their persons or their qualifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We're going to do a roll call vote on these appointments.
Resolution 94 passes, 17 yes, 4 no, 1 abstain. Resolution 95 from the...
Let's argue it.
Supervisor Frederick abstained on his own vote. Okay. Resolution 95 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Eula Payne Williams to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Supervisors Belsky, Berg, Beth, Lewis, and Rose voting aye, Decker nay, Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
Move Resolution 95.
The move by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Lewis. Supervisor Berg on the motion.
Ms. Payne Williams is to serve on the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services, beginning immediately upon confirmation by the county board and continuing until the 31st day of December 23. She will serve without pay, and she will be succeeding Ms. Janice Erickson on the commission.
Any discussion? We'll take a roll call vote.
Resolution 95 passes, 18-4. Can you fix that, Michelle? She'll adjust the record. So it'll be 19 yes, 3 no. Resolution 96 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Ms. June Sinkfield to the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services. Supervisors Belsky, Beth, Berg, Lewis, and Rose voting aye. Decker, nay. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
Move Resolution 96.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Berg on the motion.
Ms. Sinkfield is to serve on the Kenosha County Commission on Aging and Disability Services beginning immediately upon confirmation by the county board and continuing until the 31st day of December 2024. Since her last appointment in February 19, Ms. Sinkfield attended 7 of 20 meetings held. Of her 13 absences, 11 were excused, and through discussion, those were for medical purposes and reasons. Ms. Sinkfield will serve without pay, and she will be succeeding herself.
Seeing no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Resolution,
I'm abstaining on the next one.
Resolution 96 passes 18 yes, 4 no. Resolution 97 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Chairman John O'Day to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Supervisor Belsky, Berg, Beth, and Lewis voting aye. Decker and Rose voting nay. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
I move Resolution 97.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Berg.
Supervisor O'Day is to serve a 3-year term on the Brookside Board of Trustees beginning immediately upon confirmation of the county board and continuing until the 6th day of January 2025. Since his last appointment, Chairman O'Day has attended 29 to 34 meetings held. His 5 absences were excused. He will serve without pay and will be succeeding himself.
Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Resolution 97 passes 15 yes, 6 no, and 1 abstain. Chairman O'Day abstained. Resolution 98 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Mr. Robert Pitts to the Brookside Board of Trustees. Supervisor Belsky, Berg, Beth, Lewis, and Rose voting aye. Decker, nay. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
Move Resolution 98.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Lewis. Supervisor Berg.
Mr. Pitts is to serve a 3-year term on the Brookside Board of Trustees beginning immediately upon confirmation of the county board and continuing until the 6th day of January 2025. Since his last appointment, Mr. Pitts has attended 34 of 34 meetings held. He will serve without pay and will be succeeding himself.
See no discussion, we'll have a vote. Supervisor Nudo.
Thank you. For the last couple years, I've been voting no to about every single appointment that the county executive has made. And to use a baseball term, which baseball is going to start pretty soon, I took a strike a couple months ago, and I voted yes for 1 appointment, which I thought we needed, and that was for Andy Bueller. I'm going to take my 2nd strike tonight. I've served with Bob Pitts on the Board of Trustees. I believe we really need Bob. As far as I'm concerned, nobody can replace Bob Pitts on the Board of Trustees. So for that reason, I'm going to vote yes for his appointment tonight.
See no other discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Resolution 98 passes 21 yes, 1 no. Resolution 99 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of M.A. Altoya Bayou to the Kenosha County Board of Health, passed unanimously by the Human Services Committee, and Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
I move Resolution 99.
Been moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Decker. Supervisor Berg.
Mr. Bayou is to serve the Kenosha County Board of Health beginning immediately upon confirmation of the county board and continuing until the 4th day of January 2027. He will serve without pay, and he will be exceeding Mr. Charmaine Harris.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Supervisor Rose? Resolution 99 passes, 21 yes, 1 no. I think, was that meant to be? Okay. Resolution 100, from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Mr. Richard Willoughby to the Kenosha County Human Services Board. Supervisors Belsky, Berg, Beth, and Lewis voting aye. Decker and Rose voting nay. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
I move Resolution 100.
Been moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Lewis. Supervisor Berg.
Mr. Willoughby is to serve a 3-year term on the Kenosha County Human Services Board beginning immediately upon confirmation of the county board and continuing until the 31st day of December 2024. Since his last appointment, Mr. Willoughby has attended 16 of 17 meetings held. His one absence was excused. He will be serving without pay and will be succeeding himself.
Seeing no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote.
Resolution 100 passes, 19 yes, 3 no. Resolution 101 from the Human Services Committee, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Mr. William Erickson to the Kenosha County Veterans Service Commission. Supervisors Belsky, Berg, Beth, Lewis, and Rose voting aye. Decker nay. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg on the motion.
I move Resolution 101.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Beth. Supervisor Berg.
Mr. Erickson is to serve a 3-year term in the Kenosha County Veterans Service Commission beginning immediately upon confirmation of the county board and continuing until the 31st day of December 2024. Since his last appointment, Mr. Erickson has attended 11 of 12 meetings. His one absence was excused. He also will be serving without pay, but will receive per diem. He will be succeeding himself.
Seeing no discussion, take a roll call vote.
Resolution 101 passes, 19 yes, 3 no. Resolution 102 from the Judiciary and Law Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Joshua Nielsen as Director of Kenosha Joint Services, passed unanimously by the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee. Supervisor Gully excused.
Supervisor Frederick.
Move Resolution 102.
Been moved by Supervisor Frederick, second by Supervisor Wamble. Supervisor Frederick.
Yes, Joshua Nielsen has the recommendations and qualifications to be our next Joint Services Director. He has been a part of the department for a long time, and he has learned from the bottom up, and I recommend his selection.
Any discussion? Take a roll call vote, too.
Supervisor Gens wanted to speak.
Who did?
Supervisor Gens wanted to speak.
Supervisor Gens. See.
I just wanted to make the board aware that the Kenosha Joint Services Board approved him unanimously as well, and we think he'll do a really good job. Thank you very much.
Resolution 102 passes 20 yes, 2 no. Resolution 103 from the Judiciary and Law Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Nathan Thiel to serve as a member of the Kenosha County Local Emergency Planning Committee, Group Number 4 Community Group, passed unanimously by the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee. Supervisor Gully excused.
Supervisor Frederick.
Yes, move resolution 103.
Been moved by Supervisor Frederick, second by Supervisor Palmville. Supervisor Frederick.
Yes, this is for Nathan Thiel to serve a 3-year term on the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Mr. Thiel is the Pleasant Prairie Village Administrator. He will serve till the first day of February of 2025.
Seeing no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote.
Resolution 103 passes 19 yes, 2 no, 1 abstain. Resolution 104 from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee, a resolution regarding Brighton Endeavors LLC owner, Ed Passing agent, requesting an amendment to the adopted land use plan map for Kenosha County 2035, map 65 of the comprehensive plan, from farmland protection, INRA, and non-farmed wetland to farmland protection, general agricultural and open land, INRA, and non-farmed wetland, town of Wheatland. I did it again. Town of Brighton. Passed unanimously by the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move resolution 104.
Moved by Supervisor Gaske, second by Supervisor Maurer. On the motion, Supervisor Gaske.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, this is the third and final piece of the puzzle for Brighton Endeavors tonight, tied in with ordinances 20 and 21. Again, this will be an amendment to the adopted land use plan, which would allow them to section off a portion of their land along a water boundary, a natural boundary line, in order to put a single-family home. The town of Brighton and our committee supports this, and we ask for yours as well. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any nays? Motion carried.
Resolution 105 from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution approving the 2022 Wisconsin OJA Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Task Force Grant for Sea Dog Consortium, passed unanimously by both the Judiciary and Law Committee and Finance and Administration Committees. Supervisor Gully excused.
Supervisor Boyd Frederick.
Move resolution 105.
Moved by Supervisor Boyd Frederick, Supervisor Gensich seconded.
This is a grant through CDOG. The total of the grant is $211,792, $125,176 going to the Office of Justice Assistance, and $53,000 going to the Kenosha County Drug Task Force. This grant will run from January through December 2022, with a total grant of $2,011,792, and expenditures of $2,011,792. Nothing going on the levy at all. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any nays?
She wants a roll call.
You go roll call.
You called for a roll call?
Okay. We'll do roll call.
Yeah, is it a budget modification?
It's a two-thirds vote.
Okay, yes, you're correct. So she's got it set up, right? Yeah. This requires a two-thirds vote. Resolution 105 passes, 22 yes, unanimously. Resolution 106 from the Public Works and Facilities and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution authorizing administration to undertake and complete a project to relocate the Kenosha County Human Services Building. Is passed unanimously by Public Works Facilities and Finance Administration Committees.
Supervisor Grady.
Move resolution number 106.
Been moved by Supervisor Grady, second by Supervisor Against. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This move of the Job Center from its existing location on Sheridan Road over to 52nd Street has quite a few moving parts to it. Just to highlight them, it would be the movement to the newly remodeled facility, which is in Sun Plaza. Private developer would actually be in charge, or I should say, hold the ownership of the property for at least 5 years. And there's a rationale for doing that. They can get all varieties of grants, low-interest loans, and so forth, which we as a government entity cannot. So we actually would lease from that entity. At the end of 5 years, we would actually own and purchase the property that we're in. And as a part of the condition of the sale, the decrepit property on South Sheridan Road, where the Job Center is currently, I do, it's decrepit, would be sold. And the purchase price has been determined, it's $1.6 million. So there's quite a lot of detail that goes on here. But I would like to highlight before we get into this, it was my pointed request that we have not only our own corporation counsel take a look at this agreement to make sure it was in the best interest of Kenosha County taxpayers, but also have an outside law firm review not only the lease documents, but the entire package. That went through our committee, and we were satisfied with due diligence that was done properly. It's my understanding it went through finance, and the same conclusion was reached there. So we're going to ask your approval this evening, but we have all the people in the room that if you have questions, comments, anything you want to know, we can talk about it. But the idea is to be able to move from a facility that really has outlived its usefulness to an area downtown, which I think will probably stimulate revitalization to a certain extent, is a good thing. It has to be done at some point, and I think this is a pretty good deal from our perspective as members of the Public Works Committee, so we ask your approval this evening. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Resolution 106 passes unanimously. Resolution 107 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution to accept and utilize Wisconsin Land Information Program grant funding for Kenosha County Land Records Modernization Project activities, passed unanimously by the Finance and Administration Committee.
Supervisor Against.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Resolution 107.
Been moved by Supervisor Against, second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Against.
Thank you. This is just to receive and then spend the grant for our land records modernization project. We had a presentation to us and voted unanimously to approve. So we would ask for your approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Supervisor Decker?
It's more of a point of information. This is the third resolution that we have seen tonight come from, or that went through the Finance and Administration Committee, and I see that there are only 6 members on that committee. Our ordinance chapter, or ordinance 2.05, subsection 3A, states standing committees of the county board may, at the discretion of the board chair, consist of 5 or 7 members, except that the Finance Administration Committee must have 7 members. Why do we not have 7 members on our Finance and Administration Committee when it's required by ordinance that it must have 7? We had to fill Supervisor Celebre's seat when he resigned because the word shall was in here. This says must. We've been sitting just as long without a supervisor in the seventh seat of the Finance and Administration Committee. We're violating our ordinance here. Why are we doing that?
I have no answer. You have an answer? I don't. I certainly can't necessarily provide an answer, Supervisor Decker. I can indicate that it is my understanding, and I certainly would be asked to be corrected if I'm wrong, that as is also in our standing rules, the chairman of the board, who is authorized to fill in at committee meetings when necessary, either to ensure a quorum or break a tie. I believe that Chairman O'Day has been prepared to do that as necessary for the Finance Committee. Further, it's my understanding, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, that it was determined by Chairman O'Day to wait until the process of filling the vacancy was completed before determining whether there was going to be any sort of change or reorganization of the standing committees.
Okay, that does not say that in here. So this position should have been filled immediately because we're in violation of our ordinance right now. That's all.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Go. Okay.
I just want to follow up on that. Since we're
Point of order, are we speaking on the item, or are we, I mean, I
Is it-
think
is it
he's
on the
gonna have to
motion?
fill that, but, I mean, that doesn't really pertain to the item we're discussing.
well,
Supervisor Noodle, you
Okay.
talking on the motion?
no, it's a point of information. I want to know. Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, since seems like we're in violation, not having the position filled, and we don't have the 7 supervisors there, are we allowed to vote, or
Yes.
would be that in violation to vote now?
We're going to take a vote on this motion tonight.
Well, my question is, can we do it, or we are in violation? Corporation Council to answer that.
I don't see any reason we can't proceed, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Resolution 107 passes unanimously. Resolution 108 from the Human Services and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution to modify the Division of Aging, Disability, and Behavioral Health Services 2022 budget using American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA, Resources Center. Passed unanimously by the Human Services and Finance Administration's committees. Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg.
I move Resolution 108.
Moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Against. Supervisor Berg on the motion.
This request is for up to $150,000, which will fund 2 full-time workers to manage resource calls in the evening. This is part of a plan to shift the system from a reactive system to more of a proactive system. Adding these workers will direct non-crisis calls to these resource workers and not to crisis workers, which is the current system. This will allow crisis workers to focus on crisis calls. With the addition of a marketing firm to publish and promote the Resource Center number, we hope to assist more people before a crisis occurs.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Nope. Sir Rodriguez, you have something.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, Supervisor Berg, has that marketing firm been decided yet?
I'm getting a head nod, yes. Ms. Dutters?
What?
Was that all your question?
I'm just curious who it is, I guess. If it was decided, then who it is.
There was an RFP process that was completed, and Kane and Associates was the person who was awarded the RFP.
And is that, and I understand the process, so we can't like pick and choose necessarily, but is that a local company, or is that? at least
They're
local?
not, they're out of the Milwaukee and Racine area.
Okay, local to Wisconsin. That's good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Resolution 108 passes unanimously. Resolution 109 from the Human Services and Finance Administration Committees, a resolution to modify the Division of Aging, Disability, and Behavioral Health Services 2022 budget using American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA, for treatment court. Passed unanimously by Human Services and Finance Administration Committees, with Supervisor Gully excused.
Supervisor Berg,
I move Resolution 109.
moved by Supervisor Berg, second by Supervisor Gantz. Supervisor Berg.
We received a 5-year grant to run our treatment cart. However, for the first year, we were not funded at the requested amount. This was due to additional funds in the governor's budget that was not passed in time for the grant. We will have the ability to apply for additional funds for 2023, and will do so. This request is for up to $60,000, which will assist with the program operational costs.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Supervisor Palmaville. Resolution 109 passes unanimously. Communications 11, communication from Andy M. Bueller regarding future items scheduled before the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
Receive and file.
Claims 25, estate of Christopher A. Bassina, notice of circumstance of claim.
Refer to Corporation Council. You have a question on it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure which of my colleagues have read that claim, but I think it's something that may interest us all. So through the Chair to Corporation Council, if you can provide us either individually or as a whole an update on that claim? Not at this point, I know you don't want to do that now, but.
I can say it's being reviewed.
Thank you.
Okay.
The approval of the January 18, 2022 regular meeting and February 1st, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes by Supervisor Maurer.
Supervisor Maurer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Any nays? We are adjourned.